It's pretty apparent that after watching the VR showcase by UploadVR yesterday that the furries were out in full force demanding a pound of flesh for all of them loving their animatronic animals because the chat was just littered with Five Nights at Freddy's want, and of course there was no announcement for the Oculus Quest for Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted. I'm sorry homies, I'll pull one out for you. It's coming, just relax. Today I'm not going to recap the hour and a half plus of trailers, games, and reveals that were part of the showcase, but instead a few notable mentions, things that piqued my interest. Doesn't mean that these are the only games that piqued my interest, they're just things that I wanted to talk about, and I'm interested to hear what you thought about them, and of course there will be, like I said, some that are on this list. Before we talk about some of these games, just something that I did want to get off my chest and I think is notable about these events is that no matter how many times I watch a VR event, this is the second UploadVR showcase that I've watched, I'm always disappointed to a degree more than the last Game of Thrones season. And it's not lost on me that indie developers are the life support of VR. VR has been held up. The majority of content of VR is from indie game developers, surviving off thin margins, ramen noodles, and when they want to splurge, a steel reserve to basically make the day go by a little bit faster. They do a lot of work for us. From these indie game developers, I am not expecting the caliber of, say, a Gears of War 1 or 2 trailer that literally could bring a tear to my eye. I love those trailers so much. Or the StarCraft 2 reveal trailer that got me more excited than the first time a girl touched me by accident in middle school. It's a great trailer. It makes you feel great. But time and time again, like all these VR showcases, the trailers just really are kind of lacking. I think trailers need to be more of a focus for developers. First impressions are key. And there are tons of games that I've passed on that I've played later on that I actually really enjoyed. They were great games, but I passed on them because I had no initial interest. And really, if I don't have an interest from a trailer, I'm probably going to be passing on your game for quite a while. So take the trailer seriously. That's a little mini thing that I noticed from the event, and interested to hear your thoughts on it. For the games, though, that I'm both pumped and excited to talk about, things that really piqued my interest, of course, we need to talk about Stride, the mirror's edge of VR, and I cannot say how excited I am to jump off a ridiculously high ledge to try to grab another ledge as my loins reascend back into my body. Any male who's on a roller coaster probably knows what I'm talking about. Stride is a story parkour action game where you battle enemies as you stream between rooftops and flow across balconies in an attempt to save the city. I'm not sure if there will be non-combat options, but I do hope so because normally I'd be the first to grab some hollow points and shoot my already dead enemies into a fit of bloodlust, but Mirror's Edge was one of the games I enjoyed the pacifist lifestyle. Stride is slated to come out later this summer. This was one of the first things that we saw in the showcase. I think it's an absolute must-buy when it comes out. Of course, we'll have to test it, but it's on my list, and I think it should be on yours too. The next few titles that really piqued my interest, I'm going to lump them all into one category. They're not brand new games. In fact, they're either just ports and or expansions, but they're insanely important to really just help me find some fun in VR, and I think they're what I'm looking forward to the most in 2020. Onward VR for the Oculus Quest is teased constantly, and it can be pretty much assumed to be releasing this year with more info coming at the end of this month. For those Monday morning army grunts, this is your go-to military tactical shooter, similar to the SOCOM series. Personally, I'm going to be interested in the draw distance and those fine details to hit long strategic shots, but when it comes to refined VR experiences, I think Pavlov and contractors should pay close attention and up their game. Also for the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, there's an expansion, the Meat Grinder expansion, that basically adds an arena horde mode, and this was one, if not the biggest highlight of my day for the event. Here's the footage shown so far of it. After playing The Walking Dead and Half-Life Alyx this year, I am pretty much spoiled, and I got the taste of the good stuff, not the generic drugs. I'm talking right off the plane from Mexico, good stuff, and my expectations for an amazing VR experience really skyrocketed. The cold hard truth of the matter though is the money for these VR games, those willing to spend for games just like those, is few and far between, so I welcome and encourage as much DLC, as many modded maps, expansions, whatever, from these juggernaut titles because it helps tide me over, helps me stop tweaking until future large titles come out. Lastly in this group for games ported over to the Oculus Quest that I think are very important is In Death, a game that I passed on for quite a while for really dumb reasons. A lot of VR games, I know to some people I talk to, just come off as a little bit too easy. I don't need insane difficulty, but I find myself being able to coast through many VR games, and In Death is the Dark Souls slap in the face, the real frustrating rage game that I needed because put on higher difficulties, this roguelike game is insanely difficult, will make you wish you could punch a monitor, and you might just punch a wall instead out of rage. It's a hard game, it's a fun game. I think this is a quality port coming, so put that on your radar as well. In reality though, even though I love the Walking Dead expansion, the golden gem of the day for me was the lo-fi cybernetic game. I am ready to cybernetically enhance my body. The likes of Ronnie Coleman would be impressed, and this game just looks phenomenal. In lo-fi, you're the sheriff of City Block 303, a retro-futuristic cyberpunk slum where the only inhabitants of note are other lo-fi, humans too poor to jack into the platform, and rusting old robots that didn't achieve the intelligence singularity. This trailer swept me up with some great music, rock solid visuals, and smooth looking gameplay from what we've seen, and I think out of the entire showcase, this trailer shows why trailers are so hands down important, and to me it was the best title of the day, coming late 2020. Obviously, this event had tons more game. You had Trover Saves the Universe, you had Solaris Off-World Combat, which looks very much like Hyperdash, which we might talk about later on. There are tons more titles to check out. I'll link UploadVR's website so you can go through all their individual stories, but these were some games that interest me, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts on them. But again, I stress, I think it's very important for future showcases, put the extra money and time into a good trailer. A good trailer will hook people for games they may not even have been interested in the first place. And I'm sure from this showcase, there are games that ultimately I'm very much going to have fun with, but I may be playing them much later when I could have enjoyed them earlier because the trailer just didn't captivate me. And that's a shame when people work really hard on their games. So keep that in mind, developers. It's just something I really want to harp on a few times. Let me know what you thought about the showcase, though. What were your favorite titles of the day? What are you looking forward to? And how's 2020 shaping up for VR? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Leave a like to support this video if you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. That way you never miss one of my uploads. Sometimes notifications don't go out. And as always, see you on the next one, Space Cowboys.